Welcome to The Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Gavin Newsom is set to release tens of thousands of prisoners convicted of violent felonies from California prisons. Why are Democrats pro-crime? Biden rolled out a sweeping pro-abortion agenda in his first 100 days in office. Archbishop Newman says he's a scandal to the Catholics. In the House, Liz Cheney is at the boiling point with Republican lawmakers. How long can she hold onto her leadership role? The Arizona Audit has extended its deadline. Let's take the opportunity to review some important facts. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. California Governor Gavin Newsom has made another radical move to further decriminalize prisoners. The Golden State is set to release 76,000 inmates back into the streets. More than 63,000 of those are violent felons who will be eligible for good behavior credits to shorten their sentences by 1/3, including 20,000 inmates currently serving life sentences. Any rational law-abiding Californian would agree this decision is a threat to their safety. But the State Office of Administrative Law said in a statement, quote, "The goal is to increase incentives for the incarcerated population to practice good behavior and follow the rules, which will lead to safer prisons." This is shocking. Having safer prisons for criminals is more important than having safer communities for all the citizens. A number of Republican lawmakers in the state criticized Newsom's unilateral governing. State Senator Jim Nielsen said Newsom's doing it on his own authority instead of the will of the people. He's putting us at all greater risk. This seems to be no end to the degree to which he wants to do that. In 2011, the Supreme Court ruled California cut its prison population due to overcrowding issues. Since then, many Democrat lawmakers in the state have been calling for further releases or shorter sentences for prisoners. Of course, this pro-crime phenomenon isn't just an issue in the Golden State alone. The so-called criminal justice reform led by the Democrats has become a national campaign. It's really no different than decriminalization and an anti-police agenda. Some leaders of the Democratic Party even identified themselves with criminals. Former President Obama is one of them. In 2015, after touring a federal prison in Oklahoma, Obama summarized his view on the few prisoners he talked to.
These are young people who made mistakes that aren't that different than the mistakes I made and the mistakes that a lot of you guys made. The difference is they did not have the kinds of support structures, the second chances, the resources that would allow them to survive those mistakes.
The criminals in the El Reno prison were drug dealers and violent felons. Obama not only identified himself with criminals, he also identified you with criminals, which is rather offensive. Obama commented further, quote, "We have a tendency to sometimes think it's normal that so many young people end up in our criminal justice system. It's not normal. What normal is young people making mistakes," end quote. He summarized the view of the left. If you pay attention, the left doesn't accept responsibility for one's own actions, and it always finds others to blame. It blames the criminal justice system for the high crime rate, but that doesn't alter the fact that those are still crimes. Instead of persuading people to do good, they understate crimes as mistakes and ask you to forgive them. This is fundamentally wrong to solve the high crime rate problem. The cure has to be prevention. We should equip our children with high morals and teach them that each individual must take care of his or her own behavior. Another issue that the left tells people not to take responsibility for is abortion. Although Biden identifies himself as a devout Catholic, let's take a look at his record on the issue of abortion within the first 100 days. Signing executive orders to reinstate taxpayers' funding for abortions overseas, nominating radical pro-abortionist Javier Becerra as Health and Human Services Secretary, who was confirmed in March, lifting a medical abortion restriction to allow abortion pills distributed by mail, restoring Planned Parenthood Title X funding, a reversal of Trump-era rule. Actions speak louder than words. The Family Search Council said Biden has made $480 billion of taxpayers' money available for abortions to date. That's 19 times the level set under President Obama. Archbishop Joseph Newman from Kansas City said Biden wants to make federal taxpayers help become complicit on abortion by funding it. He wants to put Roe versus Wade into law in case the court reverses it. Biden is more radical than any president we've ever had. And then the bigger problem is he says he's Catholic. Biden creates confusion, if not scandal, among Catholics.
When he presents himself as a devout Catholic, but does these things that are very contrary to some of our most fundamental moral teachings, this creates confusion, if not scandal, amongst our people.
It's fair to call it a scandal. A self-proclaimed Catholic president is abusing his political power to sabotage Catholic beliefs.
And it's not just on the abortion issue. It has to do with religious liberty. It has to do also with his stand on marriage. In doing these actions and then saying I'm a devout Catholic. So in essence, he's saying to other Catholics, I'm a devout Catholic, I'm doing these things, you can do them as well. And that's where bishops, we have to intervene to protect our people.
In the wake of the most pro-abortion agenda in American history, we also see a wave of counteractions across the states. And Texas is definitely taking a lead in protecting the unborn. On Saturday, residents of Lubbock, the largest city in Texas, to vote to outlaw abortion completely, making it the 24th sanctuary city for the unborn in the Lone Star State. The passage followed a winning formula other Texas cities used. Starting in 2019, Texas cities have put a proposition to prohibit abortions to a vote. 62% of Lubbock's voters backed the measures. The new rule reads, "It shall be unlawful for any person to procure or perform an abortion of any type and at any stage of pregnancy in the city of Lubbock, Texas." Pro-life members from local communities band together to push back abortions after Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, opened a clinic in Lubbock a year ago. The new rule goes further than just outlawing abortions. It also allows a family member of a woman who has had an abortion to sue the provider. The family member can also sue any individual who assisted with the abortion procedure. This morning, former President Trump issued a new statement saying the 2020 election will be from this day forth known as the Big Lie. In Arizona, the audit has reached the one-week mark at the end of last week. The initial expectation was the Senate would wrap up the audit by May 14th. But on Saturday, Senate Audit Liaison Republican Ken Bennet said there was no deadline for the audit and it may require longer time to complete the audit process. The recount may need to pause in the middle of May due to several high school graduations taking place at the arena. Besides the hand recount, a forensic audit on the machines is also being conducted. Bennet said all of the forensic data has been captured off of the machines, and now they're in phase 2, which is analyzing that data. While the audit is being carried out, let's take the opportunity to review the 2020 election results of the Maricopa County. The numbers are quite interesting. Joe Biden was the first Democrat presidential candidate to win Arizona since Bill Clinton in 1996. Biden won the state by a narrow margin of roughly 10,000 votes. Biden was also the first Democratic presidential candidate to win Maricopa County in 72 years since Harry Truman in 1948, with a larger margin of about 45,000 votes. However, in 2016, Trump beat Hillary Clinton in Arizona by 91,000 votes and in Maricopa by 44,000 votes. This means that 4 years later, Arizona and Maricopa each swung by roughly 100,000 votes from red to blue. Another critical number is the total number of votes cast. In 2016, this number was 2.4 million, but in 2020, it grew to a startling figure of 3.3 million. In just 4 years, the number of votes cast increased by nearly 1 million. That is a 38% increase. It's kind of a miraculous victory, isn't it? No wonder Bennet said about 1 in 2 Republican voters in Arizona were not confident about last year's election results. Well, Democrats are probably not either. Back in Texas, 2 Republican candidates, Susan Wright and Jake Alze, will be competing to represent the state's 6th congressional district. Alze defeated Democrat candidate Yana Sanchez by less than 400 votes in the last runoff. Wright is now taking the lead to fill the seat formerly held by her husband, Representative Ron Wright. Ron Wright was first elected to the House in 2018. He unfortunately died in February due to COVID-19 complications. On April 26, former President Trump endorsed Wright, saying she's always been supportive of the American First policies. On Saturday, Trump congratulated Wright again for taking the lead in the race. He said, her wonderful husband is looking down and is very proud of her. Wright is currently projected to win the seat. In any case, the seat is reserved for a Republican. The new party lineup of the House will be 218 to 213, which means Democrats can at most afford 2 dissents on party line votes. In the House, Republicans are at a boiling point with Representative Liz Cheney. Cheney is accused of focusing on the past and being completely out of sync with the majority of the GOP. Cheney argues with just about everyone in the leadership, including House Republican Study Committee Chair Jim Banks, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Cheney has been so divisive that the leadership is seriously considering ousting her. Republicans are not only critical of Cheney for wanting to impeach President Trump, she also criticizes the party for attempting to win over Americans' working class. Banks wrote a memo to McCarthy saying that the Republican Party should focus on issues the working class considers important, such as immigration and trade. Cheney's response to Banks' memo, neo-Marxist. Looks like the Democratic Party should be a better place for Cheney. The GOP lawmaker said this isn't about Donald Trump at all. It's about Liz Cheney being completely out of sync with the majority of our conference. Moving in the opposite direction with her fellow Republican colleagues, Representative Lance Gooden predicted Cheney will be out of her GOP leadership role by the end of May. Now, okay, before we continue, I want to thank my live chat family. It's a little well overdue, and I want you guys to know I appreciate you joining me every night, and I'm pretty sure you're here right now. So let me make a big shout out to A. Gray, Creative Catalyst, James California, M. Nichols, CJ, Gary Von Merbach, Phil Paquette, Isa Ghost, Dose Postman, Stanley Gray, Lumberjack, Krister, Irma Hood, I don't want to get that wrong, I Hate CCP, Grady Hayes, C. McBee, Nick Knox, Holy Cats, Tony Fuentes, Polly Walnuts, Sheeple, Sharpest Shed Tool, Talbert's Mom, Hooga Booga, and A Stick Stickler. I want to thank all you guys. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, I also want to make a quick toast to 2 people. First, my man Marco Polo. This gentleman has been supporting the show since the beginning, and Marco always has a positive comment to share. The other person is Cheryl Welch. They both told me they have purchased a mug that matters, and I wanted to say thank you, and thank you to their support. So, salute. So, remember, if you want to support Eye Opener, click on the T-Link spring in the description and purchase a mug that matters. Okay, my friends, let's get back to the show. The Epoch Times acquired internal government documents from the Chinese Communist Party, which reveal power to control the internet has become the new focal point of China's national strategic contest. On January 4th, 2017, CCP leader Xi Jinping articulated a vision of using technology to rule the internet at the 4th leadership meeting of the regime's top internet regulator in Beijing. She said that the ultimate goal was for the CCP to control all content on the global internet. His statement confirmed efforts made by Beijing in the past few years to promote its own authoritarian version of the internet as a model for the world. The document also revealed Xi acknowledged the regime's lagged behind its rival, the United States, in key areas such as technology, investments, and talent in the internet field. To address its shortcoming, Xi emphasized the need to manage internet relations with the U.S. while increasing its cooperation with Europe, developing countries, and member states of the CCP's Belt and Road Initiative to form a strategic counterbalance against America. Today, the CCP has the world's most massive and sophisticated online censorship and surveillance system known as the Great Firewall. Chinese citizens have been arrested for using software to bypass the Great Firewall and punished for posting comments unfavorable to the CCP. In the early stages of the coronavirus outbreak, whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang, who later died from COVID-19, was rebuked by police for, quote, rumoring the SARS-like virus among colleagues on WeChat. Is there a way to break China's Great Firewall? Well, there is. Elon Musk's Starlink project could be a disruptive game changer for the CCP's internet dictatorship. Starlink aims to provide internet coverage anywhere on the planet through a network of 42,000 small and inexpensive satellites. The footage you're seeing right now is a train of SpaceX Starlink satellites in the night sky captured in the Netherlands on May 24th, 2019. Now, they look very beautiful, but today we have other news of SpaceX. On Sunday, SpaceX safely returned 4 astronauts from the International Space Station. This is the first U.S. crew splashdown in darkness since the Apollo 8 moonshot in 1968. The Dragon capsule parachuted into the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Panama City, Florida, just before 3 a.m.
Seconds away from splashdown, everything.
And there are the boats starting to chase after Dragon to begin their recovery operations as soon as Dragon lands.
The return trip was an express home lasting 6 hours and a half. The 4 astronauts, 3 Americans and 1 Japanese, flew back in the same capsule. Resilience, in which they launched from NASA Kennedy Space Center in November, the 167-day mission was the longest for a crew captured from the U.S. Once out of the capsule, the astronauts hopped on a helicopter for the short flight to the shore to catch a plane straight to Houston for a reunion with their families. Their capsule Resilience will head back to Cape Canaveral for refurbishment for SpaceX's first private crew mission in September. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on YouMaker, Gab, and Parler. All the links are in the description below. Now, don't forget, please sign up to our email list so that we can stay in contact with each other. I want to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.